And today there is growing outrage on Capitol Hill over GOP lightning rod Congressman Marjorie Taylor Greene and a remark she made comparing mask mandates to the horrors of the Holocaust. But predictably and also shamefully, the Georgia Republican is doubling down on her comments. Take a listen.
I stand by all of my statements. I said nothing wrong. And I think any rational Jewish person didn't like what happened in Nazi Germany, and any rational Jewish person doesn't like what's happening with overbearing mask mandates and overbearing vaccine policies.
Do you understand, though, why some would be upset and offended by the comment?
Well, do you understand how people feel about being forced to wear masks or being forced to have to take a vaccine or even have to say that whether they've taken it or not? These are just things that shouldn't be happening in America. This is a free country.
To be clear, there is no equivalence here, but for reference, here is Greene's original comment.
You know, we can look back in a time in history where people were told to wear a gold star, and they were definitely treated like second-class citizens, so much so that they were put in trains and taken to gas chambers in Nazi Germany. And this is exactly the type of abuse that Nancy Pelosi is talking about.
CNN's Suzanne Malveaux is up on Capitol Hill for us. Suzanne, how are members of Congress responding to this? Once again, members of Congress are going to be asked about Marjorie Taylor Greene's comments that just are beyond the pale once again.
Well, Jim, there are a lot of lawmakers who are speaking out today saying it is outrageous, it's offensive. At the very least, it is very ignorant of her to say these comments. But I should also let you know there doesn't seem to be much appetite for punishing her necessarily for these comments. She had already lost her committee assignments a long time ago for previous controversial and offensive comments that she's made in the past. It is possible that Congress could censure her, but there doesn't seem to be any discussion or move afoot about this. But there are individual members, lawmakers, who say that it is absolutely unacceptable that she's using this language, making these kind of ridiculous comparisons. We did hear from freshman Republican Congressman Peter Meyer. He is somebody who voted for Trump's impeachment, also supports the independent bipartisan bill, if you will, for a investigation of the January 6th attack on the Capitol, and he had some very strong words for Congresswoman Greene.
Any comparisons to the Holocaust, it's beyond reprehensible. This is, I don't even have words to describe how disappointing it is to see this hyperbolic speech that frankly amps up and plays into a lot of the anti-Semitism that we've been seeing in our society today. Vicious attacks on the streets of New York and in Los Angeles that should be, and I do condemn that in the strongest terms. There is no excuse for that.
And Jim, most people are actually weighing in on Twitter with this conversation and their criticism. We heard from Congresswoman Liz Cheney saying this is evil lunacy. Congressman Adam Kinzinger saying absolute sickness. And then a Democrat, Congressman Jim McGovern, weighing in as well, saying Representative Greene's anti-Semitic language, comparing the systematic murder of 6 million Jews during the Holocaust to wearing a mask, is beyond disturbing. She is a deeply troubled person who needs to apologize and resign. GOP leader needs to address her anti-Semitism. Jim, it is notable that there are no tweets from the GOP leadership. There doesn't seem to be any appetite for at least publicly addressing what she has said. Jim?
Right, Suzanne. I mean, that is the big question at this hour is where is the comment from Kevin McCarthy, the House Minority Leader, other Republican leaders in the House? Why aren't they condemning this? We'll be following it, and I know you'll stay on top of it as well, Suzanne Malveaux. Thanks so much for being with us. And joining me now is Rabbi Joshua Stanton, who is a senior fellow at the National Jewish Center for Learning and Leadership. Rabbi, let's talk about why this talk is so dangerous to compare something like a mask mandate to the Holocaust. I mean, obviously, it's ridiculous to compare a mask mandate or mask restrictions to the Holocaust, but I think even more disturbing here is the potential to minimize the profound seriousness of the Holocaust when you engage in this kind of rhetoric.
It's an appropriation of our history. It is a misuse and a false understanding of history that can continue to cause unnecessary deaths among Jews and among so many people. It is not her place to tell people what happened during the Holocaust. In fact, it is the place of those who are victims and children of victims and grandchildren. If you were to look at my family tree, you would see that most branches have been cut off summarily. And so it is not her place. If anything, perhaps it is a bit more of mine to describe the significance of those dark times. To put it in context, and numbers never do justice to the horrible realities, the Jewish population in the world has still not recovered since 1945. Our numbers are still down because we lost so many people, and our hearts remain broken. You cannot destroy a third of an entire people and expect us somehow to go back to business as usual, as though life were just normal. And then to have a leader in the United States speak falsely about our history, to weaponize it against us, to use it not just in wolf whistles, but in actual anti-Semitic tropes, to speak of something like a Jewish space laser. This is hate. The leadership needs to speak out against her. Representative McCarthy has a duty to the Jewish community to either speak out against her or push her to resign. And I so miss the time when parties held their own accountable for words of hate, words that could potentially be linked to violence, and words that are far beneath the leaders of our country.
Well, that's absolutely true. We just don't see enough of that in Washington anymore. Let me ask you, though, if Congresswoman Green was watching right now, what would you say to her? What would be your message to her right now?
I would say stop speaking, start listening, start learning. Join me when it becomes safe after the pandemic, God willing. Join me on a trip to Auschwitz. Join me on a trip to some of the horrific ghettos. Join me on a trip so that you can actually learn what the Holocaust was about, rather than appropriating my history, lying about the Jewish people, and using it for political gain among right-wing extremists who have ideals that are not so different from the Nazis who took the lives of so many of my family members.
And we all remember Charlottesville in 2017, those shocking and horrific images of people carrying torches and shouting, Jews will not replace us, and blood and soil. At the time, I had this exchange with then President Trump at the time. Let's watch.
The neo-Nazis started it, sir. The neo-Nazis started this. They showed up in Charlottesville. They showed up in Charlottesville to protest the removal of that statue.
And you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people.
No, sir.
In that
the Nazis.
Group,
there are no fine people in the Nazis.
I saw the same pictures as you.
There are
did.
no fine people in the Nazis.
You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue.
Rabbi, do you think that 4 years later we're still feeling the damaging effects from Trump's response to Charlottesville? You know, one of the, I think, disturbing things that we're seeing these days is this rise in anti-Semitic attacks across the country. Your thoughts on where things stand right now for the Jewish community and dealing with hate in the United States?
The former president brought hate to the mainstream, and we are feeling the ripple effects right now. The idea that we could even have a conversation about whether there are good and bad Nazis indicates how far we've fallen. This is not simply an era of polarization. This is an era of fanaticism. And the right wing has moved to the point, the extreme right, that it now is akin to fascism. We need to do more, and it is time to act, not just speak. And I have to say, you did something very brave. You spoke out against falsehoods being preached from the biggest podium in the country. And I think that's where it begins. We need to reclaim healthy dialogue and discourse. We need to reclaim a notion that what we say has to relate in a meaningful way to facts, that we can differ on the basis of how we interpret those facts, but that we need to have a shared sense of what history was so that we can learn from it and apply it meaningfully today. And what is so scary is that on the extreme right, there is an effort to lie about the past, both in the United States and in Europe, in an effort to shape the future in a way that will be harmful for the majority of Americans who are connected in many different ways to different religious communities, different cultural communities, different linguistic communities. So we need to reclaim the past, engage in an honest assessment of what actually happened so that we know how we got here and we know how we can change course.